For you that you can share with the people that you love. Hear the Appleseed every Thursday at noon, right here on the information and cultural beacon of the Four Corners, KSJE, Farmington, New Mexico.
Hello, I'm Antonia Gonzalez with National Native News. Tune in to our headline news service for stories about Indigenous communities across the country and around the world. Hear about top concerns facing Native nations. Tribal history, language, and culture is also part of Indigenous life. Check out our headline news service to learn more. Tune in here for National Native News.
Weekdays at 5:55 on KSJE Farmington. Talk every Tuesday at noon on KSJE 90.9 FM Farmington. KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, here to meet your urgent and emergent medical needs, whether they are COVID-19 related or not. Medical emergencies happen when you least expect them. Whether it's a stroke, heart attack, illness, or injury, San Juan Regional Medical Center's caregivers are here to provide care to you and your loved ones. Find out more online at sanjuanregional.com. "11 minutes past 8 o'clock. It is Monday morning, February 8th, 2021. Good morning, everybody. I'm Scott Michlin, and thanks for tuning in to KSJE 90.9 FM over the air here in San Juan County, New Mexico, 103.3 FM over the airwaves in Durango, Colorado, and streaming everywhere from our website at ksje.com. Welcome also to our audiences who are joining our visual radio program. It is streaming live this morning to the KSJE Facebook page and our Twitter account. And the video will be posted on the KSJE YouTube channel very, very shortly. My guest this morning on the program, Jason Sandel, is going to be joining us on talking a little bit about his new job as chairman of the Western States Tribal Nations Natural Gas Initiative. It is a relatively new position for him. New Mexico just became a part of this initiative about a year and a half ago or so. So we'll be talking more about that coming up in the next few moments this morning on KSJE. And then, of course, we'll be talking about technology at 8:50 a.m. this morning on Monday Reboot, our technology segment right here on KSJE. So we hope you'll stay tuned for that. And then next hour, Mick Hess will take us roving with the arts. That is our classical music program coming up after the news at 9 a.m. Mick will be joining us to play some music from Sergei Prokofiev. That's coming up this morning on Roving with the Arts. And don't forget, of course, we invite you to connect with us on social media. In addition to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, you can also connect with KSJE on Instagram as well. Let's talk about the weather forecast for a moment. Outside our studios here in San Juan County, it is 24 degrees this morning, but the winds are coming in about 9 miles per hour. So we have a wind chill of about 15 degrees is the wind chill at the moment. Our forecast calls for an increasing clouds and mild day today. We'll see a daytime high today of about 54 degrees in Farmington. 31 overnight tonight. Again, mostly cloudy, partly cloudy tomorrow, I'd say. 56 for high again on Tuesday. An overnight low of about 37. Mostly cloudy skies on Wednesday with a high of 52. And an overnight low of 27 degrees. Well, let me turn to my guest who is with us this morning, as I mentioned, Jason Sandel, Executive Vice President of Aztec Well, but his newer job, too, is with this chairman of the Western States and Tribal Nations Natural Gas Initiative. And Jason Sandel is joining me remotely this morning. Good morning. Good to have you on the program.
Good morning, Scott. How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you very much. And I guess congratulations as being elected chairman to this new relatively new organization, at least new for New Mexico.
Right. Well, thank you very much. It's an honor not only to be with you this morning, but also to serve on this organization on behalf of New Mexico.
Excellent. Well, talk to me a little bit about what this organization is. And as you and I were visiting before we came on the air this morning, New Mexico as a state just recently joined this initiative along with other Western states and tribal nations. New Mexico joined in 2019. And so explain a little bit about what this organization is all about.
Sure. It's relatively unique in that the state of Utah and the state of Colorado came together to form a coalition to begin to promote natural gas that was coming from their states. So out of the Piceance and the Uinta Basin, so Grand Junction and Vernal, Utah. And the governors of those two states came together and said, hey, we need to be working together to promote the commodity that we have in such abundance to not only promote the commodity for use in the United States, but for export as a bridge fuel moving to the future. And so the governors of Utah and Colorado came together, did exactly that. And then since that time, the state of Wyoming and the state of New Mexico have both joined. And then the Utes from Vernal, the Ouray Ute tribe from Vernal have joined. And now the organization is functioning to promote exports of natural gas from the Rocky Mountains to Asia.
Interesting. And so, and of course, you and I think, have talked in the past about the natural gas business and what a challenge it has been in recent years because the price is just so gosh darn low, which is great for your heating bill, but not so great if you're a natural gas producer, driller, what have you. And so, talk to me a little bit about that. The idea, I guess, is maybe to create more demand for natural gas and then maybe get prices a little bit higher than where they are today.
Well, not only is it about demand, and you're spot on about that. We definitely would like for prices to be a little bit higher to make it more economically viable to extract the natural gas out here in the Rockies as opposed to on the East Coast. But really also using natural gas as a clean alternative to coal, particularly across Asian nations. And so much energy is going to be produced in the next 25, 50 years from coal in Asiatic nations that natural gas is a perfect replacement and an environmentally sound replacement for that coal.
But coal is pretty cheap over there, is it not, in Asia and the places that you're talking about, which I guess is why it's the go-to fuel source?
It is cheap and readily available, but I think that there's a desire to be more environmentally conscious as well, and natural gas is the perfect replacement.
Understood. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Jason Sandel, but I'm trying to remember, I think the federal government changed some federal policies about being able to export natural gas not too long ago, which makes this now a lot more feasible and even the ability to do such a thing?
That's exactly right. So I believe it was in 2018 where the national policy was changed, where we were only able to import, and now that's changed to where we're able to export. And the truth is that the United States has the opportunity to be a global leader of exporting of energy across the globe with the just sheer volume of natural gas that we have. So it's an exciting time.
Right, and certainly, we've heard reports of the demise of the San Juan Basin for years and years and years, or peak gas, or those types of things. But kind of educate us a bit about kind of the potential for the San Juan Basin when it comes to natural gas. This is still one of the largest natural gas producing basins in North America, if I'm not mistaken. Again, and could be so again if the prices support the activity.
Yeah, Scott, you've got it right. And what we have been able to put together with the potential customers across the globe is that in the United States, in New Mexico, in the Rockies, we're able to produce natural gas in an environmentally friendly and conscious type way, where we're capturing methane and many of the practices that we already have in place are far greater from an environmental perspective to other producing areas across the world. And so our gas is actually more valuable in that we're conscious about how it is that we produce it. And that's something that we already do. But now as the state of New Mexico, state of Colorado are putting into place methane rules and other standards for how natural gas is to be produced, it makes our commodity actually more attractive to that end user because we're able to stand behind it as being sustainably produced. And so that's something that folks across the globe are looking toward, really the Rocky Mountains to be a leader in.
And I guess maybe you can't say that of other places where they're producing natural gas. Is that what you're saying? Because of the regulations that have been adopted here in the West?
That's precisely correct. And if you look at the unique area of the San Juan Basin specifically, our end customers are looking for us to be able to certify or stand behind the natural gas that's produced. So similar to the standards that are established behind the building of a building, for instance, a LEED silver or gold building has an environmental certification that comes with it. And gas that comes out of the Four Corners actually will have the ability to have that type of a certification because you've got Colorado's methane rules. New Mexico is likely to have methane rules in relatively short order. And so we're able to say that our gas is more sustainably produced. You compare that to, for instance, the Permian Basin, where the New Mexico side might produce it in that way because it'll be New Mexico rule, but Texas likely won't have that same sort of a regulation anytime in the near future. And so it makes our gas more valuable and more marketable, which is an exciting thing for us across the globe.
And you think that would be a selling point? I guess I have to go back and play devil's advocate that folks aren't going to go for the lower price if it's available from some other not as responsible producer or group?
Yeah, so we've actually in 2020 seen, for instance, the government of France turn away LNG shipments that were coming from the United States because they didn't like the way that the shipments were, or the gas that were in the shipments were being produced. And so this is a new market that we need to be conscious of. And as promoters of Rocky Mountain natural gas, we're going to take the lead on proving that we can sustainably develop our natural gas, and that the natural gas is much cleaner than coal moving into the next decades.
Sure, understood. And just for the audience who probably already know, but just in case they don't, LNG is liquefied natural gas, which is how this would be transported, I guess, right?
That's
in most
exactly
cases.
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly correct. And there are two export facilities that we're working with. One is in Oregon named Jordan Cove, and that one is temporarily on hold. And then there is another facility called Energía Costa Azul in Baja, Mexico. And there's a great amount of interest out of the ECA, they call Energía Costa Azul, the ECA facility. Very interested in New Mexico, very interested in Rocky Mountains, and delivering the fuel that we can deliver for them and for their customers. So it's an exciting time.
Interesting. And is the other thing that works kind of in the basin's favor, Jason Sandel, our infrastructure, the fact that we have some pipelines that run in and out of the region and some processing facilities and that type of infrastructure, that investment's already been made here, that's a positive?
You know, Scott, I don't even know why I'm doing an interview. You know this entire business all by yourself. Yes, so the infrastructure is critical. So the ECA facility, ECA Phase 1, is going to use half a billion cubic feet per day in Phase 1. And they're able to use existing infrastructure to be able to get the material to them for liquefaction. And all of that is in existing pipelines today. The exciting thing is that when they step up to Phase 2, which will be sometime around 2028, they'll be looking for a dedicated pipeline and be using 2 billion cubic feet of gas a day. And that is a major infrastructure project that has the opportunity to be sited in New Mexico, and it really is all about jobs, and then of course putting food on the table of the people who are performing those jobs. So true economic development available for our state, that this organization, the Western States and Tribal Nations Natural Gas Initiative, is really taking the lead and on the forefront of.
Very good. And let me go back and talk a little bit about the membership of that initiative, Jason Sandel, because you mentioned the states and tribal entities that are already a part of this. I guess if there were other tribal entities that wanted to join your efforts, membership would be open to them as well, or maybe some other states, even around the western states?
Absolutely, Scott. You mentioned that we're a relatively new organization. We are. We began with a conversation between Utah and Colorado, as I mentioned, and then New Mexico has joined, and the Ouray Ute Indians from Vernal. But since just taking over, we have now begun to reach out to the Navajo, to the Southern Ute, to the Jicarilla, and other gas and resource-rich tribes and nations across the Four Corners, and reaching out really to a good number of other interested parties who would like to join this coalition of governments that are promoting the production of clean natural gas across the Rocky Mountains.
And as natural gas, as you mentioned, could be used as a bridge fuel, I think is the term, right? As folks maybe look to maybe more renewables and things like that. I know there are folks maybe listening to us and watching us this morning that would say, but natural gas is still one of those carbon type, non-renewable types of energy that we're trying to move away from. But I don't think anyone would argue that natural gas is cleaner than using coal to produce energy. And this was the way to go as we develop our renewables and maybe get better battery technology and those types of things for the longer term.
I think that's right, Scott. And you know, one of the projects that I'm involved with is called the Roosevelt Project, that is being chaired by former Energy Secretary Ed Moniz. And much of the conversation that we're having is to focus on the time where the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine, and how is it that we're going to provide good, secure energy backup for those times where renewable resources are not a good option for us. And it really does come down between batteries and a backup fuel. And natural gas can be blended with hydrogen, and it can really be cleaned up or greened up, if you will, and is a much better option than massive battery fields to be used as backup power. I think we saw that in California this summer, where they were having massive blackouts, and it looks like we're going to have sufficient battery power to cover about 7 days' time if there are disruptions in solar and wind electricity generation, and batteries just really aren't there. And the fact of the matter is that natural gas is the best alternative and the most efficient way to accomplish our goals that have been established for renewable power generation.
And I guess it's also known technology too, right? We kind of know what we're getting, whereas some of this other, maybe more of the renewable type, it's still being tried out, being invented, being looked at, being installed, those types of things. Going back to the infrastructure, Jason Sandel, you mentioned some of the port facilities that are being developed right now, and I wondered if California plays a role in this, in some of their port facilities. I know we have a lot of pipelines going to California. Is that another possible export location as well?
You know, Scott, as we look to certify the natural gas that we are developing, which is an effort that the Western States and Tribal Nations organization is focused on, as we're certifying what we're calling green gas, then it definitely opens up additional opportunities for states like California, where they've had a push against using any sort of a fossil fuel. But if what we can do is prove that the fuel has been produced in an environmentally sustainable type way, then it like I said, it makes it more attractive and valuable from their perspective.
Got you. They may take a second look, I guess, at San Juan Basin natural gas.
Exactly.
Interesting. And I guess that would be maybe for a local market, but would that also be for maybe export as well from their port facilities and things like that?
I think that the best option that we've got right now is working with Sempra down at the Energia Costa Azul facility. There are a couple of other export facilities that are being looked at in Mexico. That's the likelihood for our export point rather than California. But we're open to all types of ideas to promote the use and consumption of natural gas that comes out of the Rocky Mountains.
Fair enough. Very good. Jason Sandel is my guest this morning. He is the Executive Vice President of the Aztec Well family of companies, and he is also the new chairman of the Western States and Tribal Nations Natural Gas Initiative. And we're talking a little bit about future markets for San Juan Basin natural gas and from other places in the West. And so I guess, and I'm not an energy person, Jason Sandel, but if you talk about being able to extract this natural gas, get it down to a shipping facility, and then sail it across the ocean to Asia, that price is still, I guess, competitive. And because of the way it's being produced, as you mentioned, in an environmentally responsible way, it still, even at a higher price, would be worthy of an Asian energy company picking that up and selling it back to their customers. I guess the price would still be reasonable.
It is, Scott. That's exactly correct. And because the commodity cost is so low here in the United States, to be able to deliver it to the wellhead and ultimately through a pipeline, it makes it as a very viable alternative to the other energy sources and fuels that are available across the world. And so we're dedicated to ensuring that we can deliver this fuel for the globe. And one of the things that Western States and Tribal Nations is in the process of right now is embarking upon a peer-reviewed study to prove out the environmental value of using Rocky Mountains natural gas as opposed to other fuels across the globe. And so what we're confident of is that not only is it economically viable right now, but we also believe that there will be a premium that is paid for Rocky Mountain natural gas that is developed and produced in an environmentally sustainable type of way.
Understood. Well, thank you for talking with me a little bit about this morning. I want to change gears just a little bit and ask you to put on your other hat for us this morning, and that is as a member of the New Mexico Economic Recovery Council dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. And we've talked to you numerous times about the efforts of the council and kind of talking with the governor and giving some advice to some of the folks who are making some of these decisions about reopening our state. And so can you give us an update maybe on some of the council's activities recently?
Sure, Scott. Thank you very much for the question. We continue to meet several times a week as an Economic Recovery Council. Our primary focus right now is on two very specific areas. The first is that there are a number of businesses that remain closed and have never had the opportunity to open. You can think to yourself, movie theaters, bowling alleys, outdoor concert events. Though they are classified as close contact recreational facilities, bars, and we are very much focused on providing advice to the governor on developing safe ways that those types of businesses could open. I think of here locally, the Racino is one that remains closed in addition to the movie theaters. And so we're having lots of conversations about how it is that we can recommend that those businesses open. The second thing that we're focused on is um, any sort of relief legislation that is moving through the legislature. House Bill 5 and Senate Bill 3 are two particular pieces of legislation that have come from the Economic Recovery Council and our ideas in our recovery roadmap, really promoting, providing assistance to businesses to the greatest extent possible. And so House Bill 5 provides for some mortgage and rent assistance that will come through the Economic Development Department and their LEDA funds. And then Senate Bill 3 is the Small Business Recovery Act, which provides for some loans for small businesses through the New Mexico Finance Authority. And then the third thing that we're focused on is really just trying to get every county from the red to the green. And that focuses in on the counties and the people within the counties doing what they're supposed to be doing, wearing masks, making sure that they're getting tests, and staying socially distanced to the greatest amount possible. So that we're still very busy inside of the Economic Recovery Council.
Good to hear. Well, and that's an important work. And I know we saw a couple of weeks ago the map of New Mexico with more counties going from red to yellow. I'm hopeful that when the new map is unveiled this Wednesday, there'll be even more changes. And I'm hopeful for San Juan County, since our numbers seem to be getting more and more under control, and the state's been pretty clear about what it takes to get from red to yellow and yellow to green, that we may see some movement in the county numbers as well. I know a lot of folks are concerned about schools, and it seems like there's movement underway to kind of reopen schools and get children back, at least some of them back, face-to-face learning and things along that line. So it seems like the state is moving in the right direction. And of course, the vaccine rollout has been done pretty well. I think New Mexico ranks at one of the top of all the states in the country as the amount of population vaccinated, as amount of vaccines that have been given to New Mexico. So all these things seem to be pointing in a positive direction, I guess, is the summary of my rambling question here.
Well, Scott, again, why you need a guest is beyond me, because you have the facts down exactly correct. The only thing that I would add is that it seems as if San Juan County is a little bit of a laggard in positivity rates and daily cases per 100,000 compared to some of the other counties across the state. Looks like Albuquerque or Bernalillo and Santa Fe are real close to that yellow, and San Juan and Chaves and Eddy County, like I said, are a little bit of a laggard. And so, it's really incumbent upon us as well as our local leaders to really ensure that we're getting lots of tests and that folks are wearing their masks. Those two things can help us get to the yellow and ultimately to the green, which that's how we're able to open up businesses. And so I would just really encourage our local leadership, and I would encourage everybody across town to make sure that we're following the rules so that businesses are able to open up quicker.
And I would agree with you on that. And you mentioned some of the businesses, again, that have not been able to reopen at all for almost now going on 10 months and probably closer now to 11 months, as you mentioned. So it sounds like there may be some guidance coming from the state for maybe later on this spring or summer as to how some of these maybe performing venues, bowling alleys, movie theaters might be able to reopen safely. Is that what you're telling us, Jason Sandel?
Yeah, Scott. So we're definitely looking not only at what happens once a business gets into the green or once a county gets into the green, but then what's the next step beyond. And so we're some of us are affectionately calling it Christmas. So from red to green, green right. Plus being Christmas. And at the end of the day, being able to loosen some restrictions even further once you get to that point. But the key is that you've got to get to that point first. And so, our focus right now is just making sure that we're getting out of the red and into the yellow and seeing a little bit of opening. And it really does come down to compliance and following the rules.
Right, and doing it safely. I would agree with you. Well, Jason Sandel, as I mentioned, I always appreciate your appearances with me here on the program to talk about a number of different issues, all of them important to our community. And thank you for the work that you do and your willingness to come on and share it with us. Thank you very much.
Hey, Scott, it's always a pleasure to see you and to talk with you and with your listeners.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. That's Jason Sandel, my guest this morning here on KSJE. And I'll be back with more, everyone, in just a moment. The time right now is 8:40 a.m.
The digital divide is possibly the most